You are listening to the IFH Podcast Network. For more amazing filmmaking and screenwriting podcasts, just go to ifhpodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to the Successful Screenwriter Podcast, where we discuss anything and everything screenwriting. Here we interview successful screenwriters and filmmakers to find out just what it takes to make it in the industry. Just a heads up, this episode is brought to you by my book, The Guide for Every Screenwriter, which has been listed as one of the best screenwriting books of all time by the Book Authority. If you're looking for something that reveals the secrets of screenwriting in an easy to understand and engaging way, then this is the book for you. You can find The Guide for Every Screenwriter at thesuccessfulscreenwriter.com/books. Now, on to the show. All right, welcome to the podcast. We have on a pretty awesome guest today, producer and actor Desiree Staples. Desiree, thanks for being on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I heard that you've got this film that was at the Tribeca Film Market, What She Would Have Wanted. And I know that you kind of make your own content and you have a whole methodology for that. There's a lot of screenwriters out there that want to get into producing. So I thought you'd be like the perfect person to bring on.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's super interesting because, in LA, I think there's a lot of actors that try to create their own content in order to provide opportunities. And I think that's also kind of genius for screenwriters too, because obviously in TV and film now, it's all about the writing, especially in TV. And so if you can create an opportunity for yourself that showcases brilliant writing, then why not also do something kind of in the same vein of what I've been doing, which is short form pilots, short films, and now heading into features to get yourself on the map and a calling card for yourself.
Yeah, I don't believe in luck. I believe in creating opportunity. And so before we get into that, before I kind of let you loose, I like to get my guests' origin stories just so people can kind of see the path you took and maybe there's opportunity for them there. So what brought you into becoming a producer and creating your own content?
Yeah, so I grew up doing theater. That was kind of my whole jam, first singing in musical theater and then headed into theater. That was pretty much from high school on, middle school on. I knew that was what I wanted to do. So that led me to Northwestern University in Chicago, where I had an amazing time. And these roots that we're talking about of making our own content did stem there because there was a big show that some of our most famous alums, Stephen Colbert, Seth Meyers, all those guys, are all a part of this show called The WAMU Show.
Oh, okay.
WAMU. Mm-hmm. And it was a great opportunity for comedians specifically, I think, to test the waters of creating a musical, what is it, like cabaret kind of style of show.
Wow.
Yeah, now it's a whole book musical, but a variety show. That's what it was.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Yeah. So anyway, it's infamous, and that's kind of where I got my chops in writing and producing and acting. It was threefold of pretty much everyone in the show, and you're collaborating with 50 to 60 different students on making a full book musical, which is kind of insane because usually on musical you have 2 people or 3 people writing a show versus 100. And all the students did the orchestrations too. It's amazing. Check out the WAMU Show. But long story short, that's where that began. Then I was a working actor in Chicago for a while, working musical theater actress, both in Chicago and New York, and learned pretty quickly that you don't have a ton of control over your career other than auditioning. And I was missing that kind of creative other side of it and the business side of it too, because I really love producing and like forming a team. And then I started doing short film and acting classes at this acting studio called Vagabond, which is in Chicago and is amazing. Highly recommend it.
Okay.
And that's why I was like, oh my gosh, there's film and TV. I had no idea because when you're in theater school, you don't know of these things at all. So I moved back and I also did Second City and some improv out there, Improv Olympics.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, I love comedy and I love film and TV. I guess I got to move back to LA. I'm from Orange County, so that was really, really easy to move back. So that was and then, pretty much started from there. And then I fell into the world of, oh, I'm an actor in LA. I have no credits except for all the theater that I've done my whole life, which was impressive. But in terms of Filmland, I have no credits whatsoever. So I should make my own stuff.
Yeah. Well, amazing. So you went into producing, you threw yourself into producing. I mean, you're not really going to school for that. So I'm
No.
I'm assuming you're just throwing yourself into projects and finding out what works. Were you finding mentors? What was your process?
That's such a good point. No, it really has just been trial through fire, like 1,000,000%. And so I do recommend, I think every actor, every screenwriter, every director should also have to produce a short, if
Yeah.
not like a 5-day shoot, just so everyone can see how much work it is. Because I think when you get bigger and bigger in the industry, you forget that literally everything from like the water bottles to the insurance to the SAG paperwork to
Right.
someone had to plan all of those things. And once you do it, I've never had more respect for producers in my life. And it just, you understand that there's no job like producing,
Yeah.
in my opinion. It is definitely the most difficult, other than directors who I think on set have to be incredible problem solvers. And that's why I'm a producer, because I'm better at solving problems over time versus in 10 minutes. But yeah, so basically I started with The Influencers, which you got to see. And that was,
A really funny short. It's
thank
absolutely
you.
hysterical.
We had a blast. We had a blast with ICM, internet celebrity moguls, and kind of the inside
Poking
baseball.
fun at it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
fun.
and that was, yeah, I mean, so my collaborator and I, who we were very lucky to meet through a mutual friend, and that was a thing too. It was like totally random that we met, but we totally jive. And I knew too, like what my strengths were at that time. That acting, I knew how to do that, and producing, I mostly knew how to do that. And Allie had been working in and with UCB in New York for years, so she had the sketch comedy and the screenwriting background. So I think that's a big part too, is like find your people that, like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not as strong in writing yet, let's bring on someone that can help me with structure, so just
Right.
knowing your strengths and weaknesses are. So we had an amazing time, and playing with, like, we were just baffled by, this was in 2018 when we shot this.
Okay.
The Vine influencer stardom. This was
Yeah.
pre TikTok, so you'll see there's no TikToking in there.
No.
But for future episodes, when the series is picked up and we have real influencers on it, TikTok will make its way. But it's been really interesting that since 2018, it's not dated that much at all, which is pretty wild. We were a little worried about that, but that was really fun for us to experiment with. Like, we thought influencers were hilarious and like both insane and poking a little fun of it, but also I, as a creator, admire YouTube stars and people like Bo Burnham that have been absolute geniuses that started in their bedroom filming things. So both respecting it and being like, but the world is crazy, was kind of the insight for that show.
No, I think it was very clever and very poignant on the times of these real people going to extremes, playing characters, and then creating this agency that you think is a real Hollywood agency, and then it turns out to just be, the twist is that it's this little agency and out of like a house, basically, that happened to have the same acronym. So it was really great angle, and I could see why it was such a popular short. So I mean, really producing, what I'm getting is that you want to go out there and do it, find a short that you can get into and cover your bases with people that can fill in your gaps, right? That have strengths where you don't. And so it takes a lot of self-awareness to figure that out. And that's awesome. And of course, that first step is getting out there. But, the one thing I hear from writers out there is, I don't have any money, right? And you can only get so many people to work on a deferred basis. You can only pull so many favors or potentially burn relationships trying to get a short to work. So what were you doing? Were you crowdfunding? Because I know crowdfunding, it used to be huge, and nowadays, like, no one's really getting success on it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for your first point is just being really smart about, if you can make these days, and the festival circuit is a whole other conversation, but if you can make a short that's like under 10 minutes, that is interesting and innovative, but you're being smart about how to shoot it. And I think people forget about that too. Like, one location, maybe it's 2 characters, maybe 3 tops.
Right.
It's not a ton of special effects. It's not a ton of costumes. If it's so bare bones, I mean, and like you said, there is a point of professionalism where you do need funds for equipment and camera and sound.
Yep.
and actors if they're SAG, these kinds of things that you do need money for. But you can really, if you're doing, let's say, a 4-day shoot, right? My other short that was at the Tribeca Market, we shot that in 3 days.
Wow.
So yeah, and that ended up being 13 minutes. So that was a beast. That was called It's What She Would Have Wanted. You can check that out at It's What She Would Have Wanted on Instagram.
Cool.
Yes, but you can keep those things honestly micro budget in between, I would say, like the $3,000 to $5,000 range.
Right.
And even that yeah, I mean, including lunch, everything like that. If you're going really like you really want pristine quality, maybe it's even 10. But those are numbers that are, of course, difficult. But if you have 3 or 4 people doing a crowdfunding thing, definitely doable. Or taking 2 years to like save that and apply. And there's so many grants out there now too. Like, it's just about putting yourself out there. But I totally get it, because my next feature that's called My Divorce Party that we're shooting this fall, that famously I am producing and also acting in. I was in charge of thank you so much. I was in charge of the fundraising campaign. My previous feature I worked on, which is once again just inside of if it works, do it again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay.
We used this crowdfunding platform called WeFunder. Cannot more highly recommend them. They have a lot more films now than what my first feature I'd worked on as a producer, called Take Me to Tarzana, that starred Jonathan Bennett, aka Aaron Samuels from Mean Girls, and Maria Conchita Alonso. We fundraised on that, and that's a really cool platform because you're actually getting investors, and it already has a community of investors that are interested in other products.
Interesting.
It goes from like medicine to tech to, there's purses on there, there's hairstyling products on there. They've got everything. So it already has a community, but it's also a part-time, if not sometimes feeling like a full-time job. It's the same amount of work of outreach and once again, making yourself known and looking like a professional and asking everyone whether they'll put in $100, but that does take things to the next level, because a place like WeFunder, the minimum raise is around 50 to 75, 80 grand. So it's kind of, taking it to the next level. But anyway, so that was like a very short version of, you can make things for micro budget, or you can kind of get to the next level of making it more
getting into the hundreds of thousands or even bigger. Well, I think 3,000 to 5,000 you said for a short. I mean, you can get that together. That's pretty, I hate to say it like this, but that's kind of reasonable. Right. So I like that. My one thing I see is, you see somebody goes out there, they make these short films, they put everything they have into it, and it just turns out to be 2 people talking over food.
Right.
And that's my one concern is if you're going to go out there and you're going to make something, you want to make something that is going to resonate, like you did with the influencers. It's timely, right? So you can watch it, you can relate to it. You go, oh my God, that's hysterical. And it's a unique take on it. So I always recommend getting out there and like, finding your market. Are you doing market research? Are you looking around to see like what is interesting and what is unique?
That's a really good point. I think people definitely should. But where my work has resonated, and just accidentally it's been happening this way, and now it's become one of my missions as an artist, is both the influencers, It's What You Would Have Wanted, and now My Divorce Party are all female driven. They're all directed by women, all produced by women. Or at least parity within the teams.
No, that's amazing though.
Yeah, that we usually don't see. And so for me, in all of them, and especially in It's What She Would Have Wanted and My Divorce Party, we've been playing with complex female ensembles, specifically in comedy and dark comedy. I don't think there are a ton of those. No. And it's bizarre because even, films like Bridesmaids and Wine Country and Girls Night and Rough Night all do very well. Yeah. But there is still, and that's why I think even like Fleabag and I May Destroy You also were major hits, because it's women being darker and as complex and as effed up as our male counterparts. That still, there is strangely, even in 2021, still a bit of progress, I think, to go there. And especially in comedy, I think there's so much more to explore with diverse women of older ages, different body types, races, you, like it's if we only have like 10 like recent female ensemble comedies, it can't be diverse enough to have covered every story there is to tell there. So that's what's been very exciting about My Divorce Party is like, okay, let's do a 2022 Bridesmaids, but we all are so much different than those women, going through much different journeys, and what that friend group looks like in our day and age that's progressed. So really it was just, for me, it's been like, okay, if that's something I would want to watch and I haven't seen, and I think that we all need more of as humans, to understand each other and to laugh. And that's my biggest thing too. Like, I'm about creating change through comedy, because when people are laughing, we don't realize that we are learning more than we thought.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant, Desiree. I love that.
Well, that's like Jojo. I think that's why Jojo Rabbit is one of my best films on the planet, is you're laughing and then suddenly you're hysterically crying. And with My Divorce Party 2, we're really excited because we cast one of the cast members that is announced is Laith Ashley, who is an amazing actor, model, and one of the main trans male actor, model, activists, who's playing a character that's just an exotic dancer that the girls meet and my character is smitten with and gives her really good advice. It's nothing about the trans experience. It's not putting anyone in a box. And has been so excited, and we've just loved working with him because he's like, I don't get these opportunities very often. And we're like, what? So, there's just a lot still to go. So anyway, in terms of market research, I should do more, but for me, it's more just like, what haven't we seen and would be really cool, and also like hopefully change the game for the better.
No, I think you found your niche, is what it sounds like to me. I mean, you found your niche and you've got your voice and you're just leaning into it. And I think that's absolutely brilliant, because then you're going to create content for that niche, and it's a burgeoning niche. I mean, it's out there. I mean, you've got shows like Kevin Can Go F Himself, which are getting more popular, but there is more depth, there is more breadth for that to really be more popular. And so seeing you leaning into it is brilliant. But what I really like is that you're taking like Bridesmaids, where you have a template, right? Because I love templates. So you have a template and you go, how do I make this more modern? How do I make this even more relevant to today's society? And that's a winning formula. It really is. And so seeing that, and I think if you're out there and you're getting ready to make a short film, look at what's been done. How can you take that? How can you make it your own and make it unique and original? And that can be a formula for success. Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing. The Duplass brothers, you may know this already, but they have, I did a panel with one of them. Well, I was listening to a panel. I was not on a panel with them, but they were talking about screenwriting, and I just thought it was genius. Of course, they're genius, but someone was like, well, how do I get my film into the film festival? How do I get this, how do I get in? And it was, well, your film, just like make an incredibly amazing film you can't say no to. Like that's like people think
it sounds so easy, right?
Right. But it was after, I think, the past 45 minutes we were talking about networking and trying to volunteer at the festivals, or there's all these things you can do, but at the end of the day, if and what you were saying, there's no, I don't believe in luck or chance either. I think there's a luck or chance of an opportunity, but you have to earn that opportunity, especially when you get in the door. It opens the door, but to stay in the house, you have to have incredible content. You just, and that's the thing, like it can be 5 minutes, but it can't be two people eating over food. And so it's like, if you're going to spend, and that's the biggest thing too with any feature or short, if you're going to take 4 days of people's time, or all these people's energies and favors, like it better be something that you are really excited about and is telling something that hasn't been told, or at least something you are so unexplainably moved by. Like you have to tell this story.
If you're going to do the short version of My Dinner with Andre, it needs to be the best conversation over a meal that's ever been filmed ever. Yeah, I know.
Watch it though. The next big like all that we're going to be talking about in 2022 is going to be this one short film of two people over dinner.
They go to Olive Garden and they talk over endless breadsticks.
And it's unlike anything we've ever seen before.
Yeah, it's amazing. I would celebrate it. I would absolutely celebrate it. So we only have a couple minutes left. So the film circuit strategy you had, just give me a quick rundown on that, because that's really essential to getting it out there. I mean, you ended up at the Tribeca Film Market, which is awesome. So tell me what your strategy was, because there are so many festivals out there. I run a screenplay contest called Script Summit, so I understand from that other end, there are thousands that you can choose from. So what do you recommend?
Well, similarly, yes, I think you may know from that from Script Summit that it's all about, at least with film festivals, I think shorter is better. I think if you are doing a short or a pilot, and that's what I would say my strategy too has been, that pilots and episodic is so much where the world is going right now. And you know, every star actor is really excited about being on a TV show and having their own TV show. So I think the more pilots that you can do and submit your pilots into festivals is much more niche than shorts. I think shorts are still really oversaturated. But you know, then you have to make a series, so or at least a pilot, and then have a plan for the rest of the series. But I think that's been the strategy, and that's what was so amazing with Tribeca is we did exactly that. That after we did the influencers, I was like, okay, I want to do another series. I want to be darker. I want it to be sort of Dead to Me meets Search Party, and that's kind of what we delved into. And you know, we have the whole Bible and pitch deck and all that jazz, but you know, just really seeing a future of where that short is, because so often I think it's like, okay, I made the short, now I don't have to do any work. No, you're just the beginning. Like, you better know, is that short, is it a proof of concept first feature? Is it a series? Is it, okay, actually it's not the short, but it's just the lead character, and this is the idea for that, or this is just a really great example of my writing, and my writing is amazing.
It's a sample.
Because I will say that in terms of the Tribeca Creators Market, that's what got people interested the most, was the writing and these characters and the relationship between these 5 women. So it's like, okay, that really shone through. So what's really showing through in your work that then people are going to go, oh, I can use them for my TV show, or oh, I need them for my feature, etc.
Awesome. It's brilliant advice. Desiree, where can people find your work?
Yeah, you can, you know, this is 2021, but at Desiree Staples on Instagram is probably the easiest, or my IMDb. And then, yeah, I've got My Divorce Party, the film, also on Instagram. It's What She Would Have Wanted, the film, also on Instagram. And then Circus Person, the film. That's actually another short that I produced that we don't have enough time to go into right now, but it was at Tribeca also this year.
Wow.
Starring Britt Lauer, and produced with one of my producing partners from My Divorce Party, Sam Fox and Alex Nell, who are geniuses. So once again, a fully female team, just, you know, making it happen. But yeah, and one more piece of wisdom on the festival circuit. I think also really find, like what we've done with those 3 is like really find the festivals we're most excited about, and the premiere status does matter. So if it's like, hey, this is right off the press, we're not even done with it yet, you know, want to check it out, I think that gets people a little bit more excited than you know, it's already appeared times in my hometown kind of thing.
It can be a snowball effect. I know with Script Summit, so it'll be, I call it the Script Summit bump. So we have winners that will win in our festival that weren't winning before.
Right.
They'll win in our festival, and then I'll notice those scripts start winning in other festivals. And I think it's a fascinating thing. So yeah, if you can get into that kind of a snowball effect with festivals, with notoriety, it's awesome.
Well, that's, you know, and that's the funny thing about LA, Hollywood, all these things too, is momentum is so huge. And it's like, once you've hit, you get one big thing, it's like, oh, they're overnight sensations and they're so hot. And it's like, no, working on this for 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, pound to the pavement, and then you don't do anything for another 2 years. And it's like, oh, they're amazing. So anyway, you have to roll with the peaks and valleys, and know that sometimes you'll be really hot and sometimes you'll be very warm, but you have to trust that, you have, once again, just have these stories and excited about what you want to tell. And then that will prove itself over time.
No, I agree. I love it when they say you're making a comeback and you're like, I never went anywhere.
Exactly.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share in your social media where you can tag us at The Successful Screenwriter.